I wish when I had started painting that someone had sat me down and shared these 4 things with me. My journey would have been so much easier, and I think I could have gotten to a better place with my artwork so much quicker. So I'm going to share those 4 things with you today. Welcome to my channel. I'm here to help you remove ceilings that are keeping you from being the best artist you can be. So I would say number 4 on the scale actually pertains to a painting technique and a way of thinking about painting, and that is, rather than painting objects, identifying shapes, colors, and value. And that was something that I didn't even hear that concept until I was way down the road with my painting. I wish someone had taught me that early on. I think it would have, simplified the painting thought process for me. I think I could have really taken off with my paintings a whole lot quicker. And by this I mean, if you're going to be painting an apple, rather than just painting the apple, if you will first identify shapes and colors and values within that apple as you would a jigsaw puzzle, and outline those, mix up those values, and then it's just a matter of dropping those values into those shapes, and before you know it, the item that you're painting, it just voila, it just comes off the canvas and it will read correctly. And so number 4, I wish I had known that earlier. 3rd on my list, I'm an interior designer, and some customers hire me by the hour. And I had this time is money mentality already in my head before I started painting. So when I started painting and I would put an hour or 2 into a painting that didn't turn out well, I felt like I had wasted time and money. And oh my gosh, when I did a painting that was 10 or 20 hours and it didn't turn out well, I felt like I was just setting a match to money. I had such a time is money mindset rather than thinking, gosh, this was time well spent in working towards the goal of what I want to do, which is to be a good painter. When someone is learning to read, it's not a waste of time for them to learn their letters before they can read a book. It's a foundational part. So if you're expecting to be able to be a great painter right out of the gate, unless you're born with a lot of natural talent, which I was not, just know that it's going to be a process. I used to get so upset with my paintings when they didn't turn out well. I would accuse them of being bad children. I would take them to the basement and make them face the wall, and I would just leave them there. I was like, I just can't even look at you. I can't even deal with you anymore. And that was my reaction when a painting went bad. Number 2, and this is so important, and it's something that I forget to do even now, but when I would invest all this time in a painting and it didn't turn out well, rather than getting upset and just throwing it to the side and going on to the next painting, I strongly suggest that you take 10 minutes. You've put all this time and supplies into a painting, take 10 minutes and look at what went well with this painting. Maybe it was the sky, the clouds were done well. Maybe you like the color combination. Make a mental note of that. And then ask yourself, what could have been better? Not what's terribly wrong, but what could have been better with this painting, and see if you can figure out what went wrong. I am increasingly becoming convinced that painting is much like handwriting. It's very habitual and very repetitive. So if you have something in your painting that's gone wrong, if you don't intentionally correct it, it's going to be a part of your painting style, much like handwriting, and 2 years down the road, if you haven't taken care of it, it's still going to show up in your paintings. And that's when I think people get frustrated and they quit because they're not seeing improvement. If you'll take those 10 minutes after each painting, even if it's a great painting, it's time to take some time and just evaluate what makes it a great painting. Make a mental note of those things so you can replicate it. And even if there's just a tiny little thing, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that, make a mental note of it so you don't carry it into your next painting. I've also realized that if I can come up with the words to audibly say what's bothering me about a painting, if I will just do the opposite, I will hear the answer. For example, if I said, gosh, I just think the colors in this painting, I don't like the colors, they're too harsh, they're a little garish looking. So the opposite of that would be, well, I need to tone down my colors, I need to put a little of the complement in, maybe I need to add some grays or neutrals to this painting. Maybe you said, gosh, I just think the scale of this is all wrong. Well, then in your next painting, maybe you need to spend a little more time drawing in the design before you start painting, just to make sure the scale is correct. And I would say my number one suggestion, and this makes me so sad to even think about it, because I'm really a very kind person, as I'm sure you are. I'm kind to people, I'm encouraging to people, and I was so unkind to me. I was terrible to me when I first started painting. I would never talk to another artist the way I talk to myself in my head. And if you are like that, if you struggle with the inner voice that's just so condemning and so critical, maybe you need to look at your painting as if your best friend had done it. And what would you say to her? What would you say to him? You would come up with something encouraging. You would say something that would encourage them to get up tomorrow and try another painting. So I would say my number one thing is, if I could do this over, I would give myself some grace and understand that painting is a journey. You probably, unless you're born with a lot of natural talent, you're probably not going to come out of the gate with fabulous paintings. It's going to take a while to get to that point. But my paintings now are so much better than they were just a year ago, and I'm hoping that next year, this time, they're going to be significantly better than they are now. And I don't think I'm ever going to arrive. They're always going to get better if I will keep my hand to the plow and not quit and give up. And if I'll figure out what's gone wrong and figure out how to fix it, which is one thing that I'm really big with these videos. I wish I had had someone to help me figure out what was wrong with my paintings and how to fix them. So that's one thing that I really focus on when I do real-time paintings. You'll see the mistakes that I make, and then I'll talk about those mistakes, why they're wrong, and I'll show you how to fix them. So be kind to yourself. That's my number one piece of advice.